Hi, Miss Hartmayer here, and today we're going to learn a little bit more about the brain. Have you ever heard the phrase, you learn something new every day? Well, that's certainly true. Whether you're learning something brand new or you're learning to do something better, something is happening in your brain each and every day that helps you form new pathways. That's called neuroplasticity, and we're going to learn a little bit about that today. From the time you were born to the time you started school, you have learned so many things. You learn to walk, you learn to talk, you learn to eat real food, you even learned to play with others. Each time we learn something new, our brain is making pathways. The more we practice, the easier those pathways are for our brain to follow and to use without even thinking. It was really hard for you to walk at first when you were younger, but now we do that without thinking. It was really hard to chew solid food at first, but now you do that without thinking. Each time we do something new and we travel that pathway, we are using neuroplasticity to change the structure of our brain and make things more of a habit or something that we do without thinking. Let's take a look.
Not so long ago, many scientists believed that the brain did not change after childhood, that it was hardwired and fixed by the time we became adults. But recent advances in only the last decade now tell us that this is simply not true. The brain can and does change throughout our lives. It is adaptable, like plastic. Hence, neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. How does neuroplasticity work? If you think of your brain as a dynamic, connected power grid, there are billions of pathways or roads lighting up every time you think, feel, or do something. Some of these roads are well travelled. These are our habits, our established ways of thinking, feeling, and doing. Every time we think in a certain way, practice a particular task, or feel a specific emotion, we strengthen this road. It becomes easier for our brains to travel this pathway. Say we think about something differently, learn a new task, or choose a different emotion. We start carving out a new road. If we keep travelling that road, our brains begin to use this pathway more, and this new way of thinking, feeling, or doing becomes second nature. The old pathway gets used less and weakens. This process of rewiring your brain by forming new connections and weakening old ones is neuroplasticity in action. The good news is that we all have the ability to learn and change by rewiring our brains. If you have ever changed a bad habit or thought about something differently, you have carved a new pathway in your brain and experienced neuroplasticity firsthand. With repeated and directed attention towards your desired change, you can rewire your brain.
Think about what you just saw in that video. Each time we learn something new, we form a new pathway. The more we practice that new thing, the easier that pathway becomes to travel on. And the more of a habit or something that we do without thinking it becomes. So we've been talking about mindfulness and using mindfulness to be reflective, to help us think about what's going on around us, what's happening within us before we make a choice. Mindfulness to help carve a pathway to be reflective throughout the day. So the more we practice that, the more reflective our mind becomes. It becomes a habit to pause and to think about the things around us and what we're feeling. It becomes a habit to allow your thoughts to come all the way to your prefrontal cortex and make a wise choice. There are other ways to practice mindfulness other than just breathing. We're going to practice one of those ways today. Today we're going to try a mindful listening exercise. Let's go.
As you get ready for our mindful listening exercise, find another quiet and cozy spot in your house to practice with us. You may lay down or sit down just as you have done before. Once you find that spot, go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in your nose with me and blow that breath out through your mouth as we begin to prepare ourselves to be mindful or thoughtful of the sounds around us. Continue breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth as we do this exercise. To start, I'm going to ring a chime. I want you to listen to the sound of the chime for as long as you can. Hear how the sound begins to fade away, taking those deep belly breaths as you listen. As the sound fades away, begin to allow yourself to listen to the sounds around you. They may be sounds that you've heard in your house before, or they may be new sounds as you begin to be mindful or thoughtful of the sounds around you. As you listen, continue to take your deep breaths in through your nose, filling your belly up with air, and out through your mouth. Let's begin to shift our focus from the sounds around us to the sounds of the music. I'm going to play a song that has instrumental notes. That means that instruments are going to be playing, but there will not be any words. Listen to the instruments and see if you can hear some that you know, or just listen and notice the differences in the sounds. Let's take a deep breath in through our nose. Blow that breath back out through our mouth. As we begin to finish our mindful listening exercise and bring our awareness back to the room as we open our eyes and become aware of our surroundings. Thank you for practicing mindful listening with me, and I hope you take some time to pause throughout your day and practice just noticing the sounds that are around you, training your brain to be mindful or thoughtful of the things that it is experiencing.
Our mindful listening activity was a little bit different than our mindful breathing activity, but you were still focusing on one thing at a time. Instead of focusing on your breath or how your body felt when you were breathing, you were focusing on listening to sounds. That focus is what will help us really become thoughtful or mindful in our everyday life. When we are pausing and thinking about things, we are really letting information come all the way into our brain and into our prefrontal cortex so that we can make choices or decisions about what it is and what we need to do with that information. The more we practice our mindful activities, the more we will carve out that part in our brain that helps us pause and make those reflective choices. So not only will this help us get calm if we need to, just like our breathing, we can use mindful listening to help us get calm. It'll also help us to carve out those pathways using the concept of neuroplasticity. Tomorrow we'll learn a new mindful technique to help us be calm, alert, and ready to learn, and also to help us become reflective rather than reactive. See you there.